Hello! Are you thinking about taking APs, but you're not sure which one's the hardest, most interesting, or right for you? I've self-studied for multiple APs, scored a 5, and I'm currently doing a few more. So it's fair to say that I've had some experience with APs. I wanted to make this video today to help you understand 3 things. 1. What are APs? 2. How do you choose the right ones for you? And 3. Just my personal ranking basing these different APs on logic, memorization, and difficulty. But first, what are APs and why do they matter? APs, standing for Advanced Placement Courses, are first-year university level classes offered to high school students typically in the US or Canada. If you do well on the AP exam, you can get university credit, an advanced standing, or just be able to show that you're capable of handling this high-level college-level material. So even if you are outside the US, they're quite useful for boosting your college applications, especially for competitive schools. You can show that you have academic initiative, especially if your school doesn't offer many advanced classes. It also helps you ease your transition into college if you score well, like a 4 to 5, because it means that you can reduce your course load in the first year, making room for internships, research, or just having a better balance overall, especially in this important time in transition. It also means that you're able to skip these first level courses, especially in subjects like calculus or chemistry or microeconomics, and you can also save money from this college tuition. Even if you don't score a 5, or you don't score a 4 and don't get this credit, the experience itself is very, very valuable because you're already familiar with the material. This means that when you take the same course again in university, it doesn't feel brand new. You have an easier time adjusting, you can probably score higher and focus on classes which perhaps are a little bit more challenging for you. So whether you're doing APs for admissions, credit, or just preparing yourself for better college transition, it makes a huge difference. Some schools offer APs in grades 11 to 12, while others require you to self-study or register for exams externally. If that's your case, like me, it can be quite hard to know where to start, which is why I'll be ranking the APs based on my own personal experience and the general consensus about them. But I do want to remind you first that, of course, this is going to be subjective. Your experience will vary based on your interest or your strengths personally. I'll be ranking these 10 APs based on the logic required, memorization, and overall difficulty. And I'll be doing this in a pattern from easiest to hardest. So first, with AP Microeconomics. I would say this is quite logic heavy. It's quite intuitive, and there's low memorization needed. It builds on basic economic principles, it makes logical sense. You will typically have a lot of graphs to understand and analyze. Most people will say it's one of the easiest APs, especially if you do like logical thinking. So I personally think it's a great one to start with if you want to learn how to do APs, especially if you're going to be self-studying on your own outside of school. The second thing that I would suggest is AP Psychology. There is very, very heavy memorization, but light logic. The content itself is not very difficult, but there is a lot of vocabulary and theories that you do have to memorize or take note of. Personally, for me, I didn't enjoy it because there's a lot of memorization required, but it's generally considered one of the easiest APs, but it can be found to be a little bit tedious. The third hardest AP that I would rank is Calculus AB. It's moderate to high logic, low memorization. The reason why I found it not too challenging is because it builds on pre-calculus or this foundation of math or knowledge that you'll generally learn in school anyway. You need to understand things like limits, derivatives, integrals. The free response questions, though, can be considered tricky because you have that time constraint and you have really long multi-step calculations. It's moderate difficulty, the learning curve is favorable, it's not too steep, so it's not too hard or challenging. The fourth one then would be Calculus BC. Not because the content itself is quite difficult, it's probably got the same logic level as AB, it's just ranked harder because of the content density. There's just more that you have to learn. You include everything from AB, you still have your derivatives and integrals, you just add more content, like you have your series, your parametric equations, your polar functions. But if you do have your AP foundation, I would say BC is very manageable, and I would recommend taking them both in the same year, especially if you're more stronger in math or you have more interest in math. The fifth one that I would suggest to you in these terms of difficulty is AP Statistics. And the reason why I would rank it harder than calculus is because it introduces this new type of thinking style. It's moderate memorization, but unlike calculus, statistics isn't often taught in high schools, meaning most of these concepts that you learn are going to be very, very new. You're going to learn things about interpretation, probability, and experimental design. You have to memorize these key definitions and know how to write written explanations, and it's quite heavy emphasis on interpretation. And FRQs, the free response questions, can be a bit difficult. The sixth one is AP Biology. This is very, very memorization heavy, a bit like psychology again. You have a lot of vocabulary and processes that you have to learn. Conceptual understanding here is very important, and it's about retaining this information that you learn. The FRQs are again a little bit challenging because it can be found abstract, especially in the experimental design or lab-based questions, which is typically why students like to take AP Biology as a part of the school in order to have this lab experience. It can be a bit difficult to learn AP Biology, but as long as you're disciplined in your study and you enjoy it, it's definitely a good option. The seventh one would be AP Chemistry. There's a lot of memorization, math, and logic, so you have a balance of these three. It's more technical than biology and is considered one of the most hardest APs. You have to have a deep understanding of chemical concepts, you have to solve multi-step problems, you have tough FRQs, and the curve is typically quite steep. So it is definitely ranked as one of those top 3 hardest APs, even for science-focused students or those interested in science. The 8th AP then is AP Physics 1. This is more conceptual, it's calculation heavy. It's generally the first real exposure to physics for most students, and it's very conceptual with AP Physics 1. You have to have a good understanding of forces, motion, energy, rotational dynamics, torque. It's one of the hardest, not because of content, but specifically the questions and the way that they are designed to test you. The next is AP Physics 2. It just continues from AP Physics 1. You cover things like thermodynamics, electromagnetism, and fluid dynamics. It's easier if you've done Physics 1 before because you're applying the same type of thinking, but just to new concepts. So it's still hard, but less intimidating than Physics 1 because you're already familiar with this Physics 1 type of thinking as well. And then the last and most hardest AP, in my opinion, is Physics C. Because you have physics and high-level math, you have to know calculus and have this as a foundation, meaning that you should have taken calculus AB or BC before, as that is most ideal. It's more focused and less broader than Physics 1. It covers the same content, but dives much more deeper in them. It's more ideal for those strong STEM students or people looking into engineering. It's quite a hard subject, but it's fair. It's less painful than Physics 1, as long as you know that calculus and you have that strong foundation. So that's my rankings of the APs, and hopefully you have a better understanding of them. Thank you so much. Goodbye.